ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति। गीता ध्यानम। ओम पार्थाय प्रतिबोधितां भगवता नारायणेन स्वयं व्यासेन ग्रथितां पुराणमुनिना मध्ये महाभारतम् अद्वैता अमृतवर्षिणीं भगवतीम् अष्टादशाध्यायिनीम् अम्ब त्वामनुसन्दधामि भगवद्गीते भवद्वेषिणीम्। नमोऽस्तु ते व्यासविशालबुद्धे फुल्लारविन्दायतपत्रनेत्र येन त्वया भारततैलपूर्णः प्रज्वालितो ज्ञानमयप्रदीपः। प्रपन्नपारिजाताय स्तोत्रवेत्रैकपाणये ज्ञानमुद्राय कृष्णाय गीतामृतदुहे नमः। सर्वोपनिषदो गावो दुग्धा गोपालनन्दनः पार्थो वत्सः सुधीर्भोक्ता दुग्धं गीतामृतं महत्। वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुम्। भीष्मद्रोणतथा जयद्रथजला गान्धारनीलोत्पला शल्यग्राहवती कृपेण वहनी कर्णेन वेलाकुला अश्वत्थामविकर्णघोरमकरा दुर्योधनावर्तिनी सोतीर्णा खलु पाण्डवैरननदी कैवर्तककेशवः पाराशर्यवचः सरोजममलं गीतार्थगन्धोत्कटं नानाख्यानककेसरं हरिकथां सम्बोधनाबोधितं। लोके षज्जनषट्पदैरहरः पेपीयमानं मुदा भूयाद्भारतपङ्कजं कलिमल प्रध्वंसिन श्रेयसे। मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे परमानन्दमाधवम्। यं ब्रह्मा वरुणेन्द्ररुद्रमरुतः स्तुन्वन्ति दिव्यैस्तवैः वेदैः साङ्गपदक्रमोपनिषदैः गायन्ति यं सामगाः ध्यानावस्थिततद्गतेन मनसा पश्यन्ति यं योगिनो यस्यां तं न विदुःसुरासुरगणाः देवाय तस्मै नमः। We say to greet another person, Hari Om. In a lighter vein, Hari Om can also be interpreted as Hurry home, go quickly home. Whereas, if you would have been following the sessions, the last couple of sessions, we have discussed move from known to the unknown. So, Hari Om. Harihi is the supreme reality, the unknown factor, the transcendental. Om is terrestrial, subtlest, known idol, which is being used as a symbol in japa, in meditation. That's how we greet each other. We say Hari Om like this. The palm is the supporting principle for all the 5 fingers. If there is no palm, the fingers can't be existing. This is the substratum. The 5 fingers can be interpreted as 5 koshas: Annamaya kosha, Pranamaya kosha, Manomaya kosha, Vijnanamaya kosha, and Anandamaya kosha. And that's what a human being is. Assuming this palm and fingers represent the supporting principle in me, the Atman, and my Panchakoshas, and the left palm and the 5 fingers represent the another individual's supporting principle, which is the same as my supporting principle. The supporting principle is the same for every human being. That principle which makes a human being to see is the same principle which makes the person hear, is the same principle which makes the person smell, taste and touch, is the same principle which makes the person to feel various emotions, is the same principle which makes a person think. It is the same principle which makes all animals function. It's the same principle which enlivens all plant kingdom. That principle am I, everybody. So the left palm indicating the principle, the life principle, the enlivening principle, and your Panchakoshas. So when we greet each other like this, by joining the palm together, and we say Hari Om, we are not only greeting the other person, we are reminding the other person of what is the primary purpose. That principle am I, and you and each and everyone being the same. Aspire to get that. Discover thyself. How do you get that? How do you move to that unknown? From what is known to you, you move there. So if you see the first slide today, eightfold path of yoga. The moment the word yoga is being uttered, every one of us think about physical exercises, breathing exercises, bending our back, flexing our back, your neck, etc. So it is called yogasana exercises. In fact, the Sanskrit word yoga is derived from the root yuj, to join, to unite. A person has taken leave from his office, his duty, Suddenly, in the middle of his vacation, a telegram is being received. Join duty at once. Resume duty at once. Meaning, the individual is separated from work and the instruction is saying, get back to work. Join, obviously it means your duty there. The work, the place of work, office. So when we say yoga means to join, to unite, the implication is we are separated from something. What is that something? Nobody knows. Unknown. The ways and means to get back to that unknown. What is that unknown? Last 2 sessions we have been talking about that unknown. The truth is the self, Atman, the enlivening principle. Just 5 minutes back we discussed about it. When we use our 3 equipments, the 3 equipments are physical body, mind and intellect. We also discussed that plants and animals do not have this choice to get back to the self. They don't know what that self is. Pre-programmed, pre-computerized. Only a human being can have this choice to find out what that self is. When we use our physical body to get back to the self, it is called as karma yoga in Sanskrit, path of action in English. When we use our mind to get back to the self, when we use our emotions, feelings to get back to the self, it is called as path of devotion. It is bhakti yoga. When we use our thinking, intellect to get back to the self, it is called as jnana yoga, the path of knowledge. Our primary purpose is to get back to that self as quick as possible. So there are 8-fold path to get back, to unite to the self. They are yama, niyama, asana, pranayama, pratyahara, dharana, dhyana and samadhi. All are Sanskrit words. Yama, not Lord Yama, Lord of death. Don't get terrified, please. It is external sadhana, external practices. The 3 pillars on which the entire Vedanta stands: Brahmacharya, Ahimsa and Satyam. It is something outstanding that most of the practices are all 3-fold in nature. It is not 2-fold or 4-fold. It's all 3-fold. It's all multiples of 3. We say all the important numbers, all multiples of 3. Physical body, mind and intellect, it's again multiple of 3. Waking, dream and deep sleep, again multiples of 3. Heaven, earth and hell, again multiples of 3. Since there are 3 equipments, there are 3 practices here. No 2 practices, no 4 practices. Brahmacharya, Shankara used to say in his text, you would have found it, Brahmani charanti iti brahmacharya. Charanti, walking. Brahmani charanti, that person who is all the time walking towards Brahman. Again, it's all play of words. That life principle which enlivens the individual, the microcosm, is termed as Atman in Sanskrit. The same enlivening principle, when it enlivens the whole universe, it is called as Brahman. Atman and Brahman are one and the same. In Sanskrit, we call it as Jivatman and Paramatman. Jivatma and Paramatma. Both are same. Brahmacharya. At the physical level, when a person practices that sadhana to maintain control at the senses, this is something different from pratyahara, sense control. Not eating too much, not eating at all, not sleeping too much, or completely in laziness, sleep. So if a person is able to practice that regulation, moderation at the physical level, sense level, friends, the eyes see color and form. From the time we are up from bed till the time we go to bed, all that time monotonously the eyes are seeing color and form. It is not tired at all. What is it you want to see? That matters. You want to see something, the color and form, which will take you to the self or which will take you away from the self. That matters. You go to a supermarket, provisional store, you want to buy provisions. Is it not that we reject on the prior knowledge that we have as far as the provisions are concerned and pick up the good ones from the market? We go to the vegetable shop, supermarket. Is it not that we discard all that stuff which is not good to us? We pick up that which is good to us. Not in terms of proteins or nutrients or carbohydrates. I'm not talking about that. If it is not of good quality, you reject at the very marketplace itself. Exactly same way, friends. That color and form, that sound, all these play a role as a stimuli. External stimuli. That stimuli which will take you towards the self, that stimuli which will take you away from the self, the choice is yours. That is brahmacharya, which will flare up our senses, which will flare up our lust. The choice is yours. Ahimsa, at the mind level, there are individuals, those who have that capability to hurt the other person by words, by their gestures. They get PhD in that. A person has picked up a knife and has physically wounded the other person. Perhaps the wound may get healed in 2 to 3 weeks. If we stab the other person with words, it will take a long time, perhaps an entire lifetime. That person who practices that yama at the sadhana at the mind level is practicing ahimsa here. You would have seen people covering their mouth. They go to the extent of not hurting even insects, bacteria for that matter. Ahimsa. The Hindus, they don't hurt the animal. They worship the bull, the cow. How did the Mughals enter India? They had rows of cows as their fence. And if you want to reach the Mughals, you've got to first reach the cow, the bull. Only then you can reach the Mughals. Since the Hindus had high regard for the bull and the cow, they could not harm the creature there. Extreme practice of ahimsa. And the rest is history. Satyam. Satyam at the thought level. Satyam means truth. So brahmacharya is celibacy. Ahimsa is practicing that control at the mind level. And Satyam is practicing truth at the thought level. Beautifully in Hamlet, Polonius' advice, beautifully, the last 3 lines, it says, to thine own self be true, it must follow as night the day, thou canst not then be false to any man. When we are talking about Satyam here, a human being has a purpose. Be truthful to the purpose. Don't falter there. The 3 external practices, niyama. The 3 internal practices, sadhana. Swadhyaya, shaucha and tapaha. Tapas is not standing on one leg, not taking in breath. Tapaha here is that austerity practiced at the physical level, meaning when a person has practiced brahmacharya, when a person is conserving the energy by practicing brahmacharya, channelize it for a higher purpose. Do not indulge. So tapaha here is that mind will all the time is pushing us to the external world, to go and indulge in the external world. Whereas here tapaha is, no, I will not indulge in this. I have a higher purpose. A person who has a sweet tooth, the moment a sweet meat is kept in front of him or her, it is mouth-watering. The physical body naturally gets attracted towards the sweet, to enjoy the sweet. The person has already had 2 or 3 small cups. It is still, the powerful like is pulling the person towards a sweet meat. And here the tapaha is, no, I had for the day. Thank you so much. That is tapaha here. Shaucha means cleanliness. Cleanliness at the mind level. The mind gets polluted by selfish thoughts. By practicing brahmacharya, ahimsa and satyam, a person looks within. We have already used the word be introverted, and try to be unselfish in nature. After you, that attitude, aprevu. Everybody wants to rush. No time, no time. Rushing, hurrying, worrying all the time. Morning peak hour traffic, cars are all piled up. Bumper to bumper, there is no place between 2 cars. A person, an old lady wants to cross the road. You are already late to office. What will you do? After you, that attitude, that purity of the mind here. That is why it is called as, we have already used the word scavenger. Cleansing the mind. It is not just at the physical level. Cleansing the mind of all thoughts. More thoughts, more agitations. Less thought, less the agitation. No thought, no agitations. And this is possible only when a person practices swadhyaya. Swadhyaya is self-study. There are people who does service by giving wealth. Dravya yajna. Yajna is service or yajna. Person gives wealth to other person. Grossest form of service. Yajna, Sanskrit word. The moment the word is uttered, instantly the first thought association is invoking fire and pour all sorts of clarified ghee, butter, etc., grains, and then you are chanting the Vedas, the mantras. Whereas the Bhagavad Gita beautifully talks about in chapter 4 how daily work, daily practices can be converted into yajna. You don't have to invoke fire every time. Seeing one yajna is going on, hearing another yajna is going on. The subtlest form of yajna a person can do is swadhyaya, self-study. How come self-study be a greatest yajna, subtlest yajna? So the first thing is a person gives wealth. Second can be a person can give or share at the physical level. Physically you go and help the other person. This is better than material giving. Tapo yajna. Slightly better than this, subtler than these two, dravya and tapaha, is yoga yajna, giving emotions. There are people, those who go to old age homes. People there, elderly people, nobody to take care of them. Nobody to sit and talk to them. People spend their time by sharing emotions. Another aspect of yoga yajna is giving knowledge. What knowledge? Worldly knowledge. Physics and chemistry and mathematics. You can share that. Subtler than giving worldly knowledge can be imparting spiritual knowledge. The subtlest of all giving can be swadhyaya, self-study. What does a person do? Seemingly selfish, sitting in a room and doing that self-study all by himself or herself. When a person does self-study, offering one's vasanas, the very nature, like giving ahuti, offering into the fire of knowledge, the vasanas get burnt and the person realizes the self, gets liberation. And this can happen one in a generation. And that person becomes a beacon light to follow. The third one is asana. Physical exercises. So yama, niyama, asana, physical exercises. Again the word yoga is used here. When a person is engaging in study, we chant at the beginning of every class, Sahaviryam Karavavahai. Sahaviryam. The individual also put in that effort and keep the physical body fit. Pranayama, breath control. So when I am talking about physical exercises and breath control here, it is again with reference to the physical body. We are going subtler and subtler. And the person becomes qualified to practice sense control or self-control, which is called as pratyahara. So, by practicing brahmacharya, ahimsa, satyam, a person conserves energy. That conserved energy is channelized towards a purpose. It's like a reservoir collecting water. And that collected water is being poured into a turbine in unit direction, generating energy. Same way, that conserved mental energy is poured, channelized towards the attainment of union with God, and the person gains concentration. The mind becomes single pointed. Concentrated concentration is meditation, dhyana. Concentration is dharana. Dhyana is meditation. Single pointed focus on a chosen thought by the intellect given to the mind. That subtlest of all thought can be the sound Om, to the exclusion of all other thoughts, is defined here as meditation. And that single thought by itself doesn't stand, it gets displaced and attains the totality. And that is what is called as samadhi, union with God. And this is what the objective of studying Vedanta is. So purifying one's inner personality, cleansing external, internal system completely, helps to relate with humans by swadhyaya, by eradicating all darkness. You become the light, and you assist the other person to eradicate darkness. Asatoma sadgamaya, tamasoma jyotirgamaya, mrityorma amritam gamaya. Jyotihi. Jyotihi is light. Tamasoma. Tamas means laziness. So you move from laziness to action. Where there is action, there is dynamism. What do you do with that action? At the physical level and at the thought level, channelize it towards the purpose. And you relate with humans, those who are interested to attain that liberation. It is like a lake collecting water. When the lake collects water, the lake need not advertise. I have water, please come and draw from me. Draw water from me. People will draw pipes and take water from that lake. Exactly the same way, when that person study in swadhyaya and has become WHOLE, whole, paripurna, that seeker, that sadhak will come and draw knowledge from this person who has filled himself from all sides. Let knowledge get filled from all sides. This is what the Rig Veda says. By this process, a person is able to reduce, eradicate the desires, vasanas. And this is what the benefits of Vedanta are. Dynamism in action, rendering the mind unselfish, thereby peace of mind. Reason is the essence of Vedanta, the sap of Vedanta. A science student is taking down notes on some experiment being performed by an individual 200-300 years ago. That individual who has discovered that particular law or theorem, or the writer, is not the one who is teaching the individual here in the class here. because that experiment was performed 200, 300 years ago. Now this double PhD or triple PhD professor who is elucidating that concept which was done 300 years ago, that individual who is sitting in the class should have faith in that master, that double PhD or the triple PhD who is elucidating the fact. Shraddha, faith. Now that individual who is taking down notes should not just gulp it in whatever is being said by the triple PhD just because he is a triple PhD who is talking about that experiment being done 300 years back. If that individual has doubt, question at every stage. Not question the credentials of the triple PhD, question the facts of the matter. Never accept anything on hearsay. And having accepted, when I say accepted here, the intellect has understood the concept and the mind has faith in what the master is elucidating. And physically the person start acting by, now the theory has been taken in, reflection has been done by the intellect, and that person has to become that very experiment. How is it possible? Go to the laboratory and perform the experiment either by oneself or in group and come to the conclusion, yes, this experiment is, this is what it is. The law holds good. And ultimately become it. Until the transformation takes place. How the transformation has come? From faith, questioning and actual becoming. And that is what that clarity develops in that individual, because that existing knowledge has been all the time questioned, probed, reasoned. And ultimately the person, applies the same principle, methodology, even in gaining knowledge of Vedanta. Just because some saint or a seer has said 500 years back, never accept it. Just because there are large following, never accept it. Just because there is a very few people who are following, never accept it. You take it on faith, question the facts and put them into use and actually become it. Until that transformation comes, it will be just a bookish knowledge. And this is what we have discussed last class, that the three equipments, physical body, mind and intellect. So of all living beings, plant, animal and human, only a human being has the choice of action here. Very important point. What is this choice of action? Should I be a vegetarian or a non-vegetarian? Should I study medicine or engineering? Should I stay in India or go abroad? Should I get married or stay single? The choice. No plant, no animal has this choice. Friends, hardly anybody uses this choice. It is so automatic, like breathing or seeing. A.E. Manda, an Englishman, says, thinking is an art, a skill, a technique. You have got to learn and practice it as you would a musical instrument or play a sport. Swami Parsarthi used to say, living is an art, a skill, a technique. You've got to learn and practice it. Hardly anybody understands living as an art or a skill. Just because we are born as a human being doesn't mean we know how to live, how to think. That limited intellect a human being has, let that intellect be put into use. Let that result be wrong, doesn't matter. Come back to the laboratory, start thinking again in a different way. If you want a solution to a problem, you can't think the same way. There has to be a different type of thinking, different kind of thinking in order to get a new solution. A human being alone is responsible of doing this. Leave alone discriminating between the terrestrial and the transcendental by using the subtle intellect. Gross intellect and subtle intellect, what is the difference? Discrimination used in the terrestrial world is gross intellect. A small screwdriver being used to repair a laptop, a small screwdriver used to repair a wristwatch, is doing a subtle operation. Is the same screwdriver which is being used for heavy automobile. Screwdriver being the same, one does gross operation, another does a subtle operation. Intellect being the same, it's the functionality. One being used in the terrestrial world, which is the gross intellect, another one being used in the transcendental, beyond the terrestrial, it's the subtle intellect. A magnificent poem by Rabindranath Tagore, where the mind is without fear. Let me recite the poem, please. If I make any mistake, please pardon me. Where the mind is without fear and the head is held high, where knowledge is free, where the world has not been broken up into fragments by narrow domestic walls, where words come out from the depth of truth, where tireless striving stretches its arms towards perfection, where the clear stream of reason has not lost its way into the dreary desert sand of dead habit, where the mind is led forward by thee into ever-widening thought and action, into that heaven of freedom, my Father, let my country awake. Rabindranath Tagore. The mind is without fear. Human being do action based on to get away from sorrow, fear of the result. Dukkha nivriti, moving away from sorrow. Or courting happiness, sukha prapti, where it beautifully said here, the mind is without any fear. Bhaya, when does a person have fear? That selfishness brings in tremendous fear. Selfishness, a person all the time aggrandize, covet from others. Fear is, will I lose all this? Selfishness means all the time trying to fill oneself at the physical, emotional, intellectual levels. I go to a place, the thought is, what will you give me? Or what will I, get it for you? Unselfishness. Can I be of any service to others? Can I be of any help to others? When knowledge is free, today everything has a price. There is no liberal education. Everything has a tag, price tag. Two words used, servile and liberal education. We practically trade with everything. Where the world has not been broken up into fragments by narrow domestic walls. That selfishness all the time, has broken us into domestic walls. Compartmentalize ourselves. Nuclear family. I am not suggesting everybody should live in large numbers. That is not the idea here. Let that emotion be, let it start from the family and it enlarge and there are no boundaries. Let there not be any boundaries here. Imagine the whole world, no boundaries. Everybody love each other. How that will be? Where words come out from the depth of truth, everybody is tirelessly working towards that truth, the primary duty. And when that person's mind and intellect is focused on the truth, word, deed and thought automatically express itself, beams forth. So, when we break all barriers, let our home be the center of affection, love, and not the boundary. So in that sense, what happens? Everybody has love for fellow beings. Clear stream of reason has not lost its way. I am thinking in a way so that I use my intellect in a way how I will gain. Rather, I use my thinking, intellect so that for the benefit of the world at large. Loka Sangraha. Into the dreary desert sand of dead habit. Everything has become so monotonous. Herd instinct. Somebody has set the path. I just blindfold myself and I take that beaten path. 2 roads and I. Robert Frost says, road not taken. 2 roads and I chose the one which is less traversed, and that made the difference. My friend has taken up to medicine, let me also take up to medicine. My family is in business, so let me also be the same way, follow suit. Herd instinct. In that particular frame of mind where the mind has no boundaries, no limitations, that mind where the mind is led forward by thee with these high thoughts into ever widening thought and action, let that be that heaven for me, into that heaven of freedom where there is liberation for everybody. There is no restriction. My Father, let my country awake. Let us walk towards that euphoric state, euphoric idea. So if you see this slide here, number 6, we have discussed that the world is made up of 5 elements: space, air, fire, water and earth. From the order of subtlety, space is subtlest and earth is the grossest. If the macrocosm is made up of these 5 elements, then the microcosm, you and me, also should be made up of these 5 elements. What is the proof? At the time of death, don't get terrified. Truth is, anything which has got life has to die. Be it an amoeba, a bacteria, a plant, animal or human. That is the truth. So when a person, human, die, the body becomes cold. The fire element goes away. Prana, breathing. Breath stops. Breathing stops. Air element goes away. 2 elements have gone. The liquid oozes out of the body. Water element goes away. The person has been occupying X amount of space. When you cremate, even this space is gone. Don't enter into my space. Give me elbow room space, we say. The space is gone. And upon cremation, We become a lump of earth from where we came from. We merge back into that. Annamaya Kosha. Please see the next slide. World is also made up of 5 elements. The individual also is composed of 5 elements. So the physical body merges back into earth. So this is the proof that a human being is also a grossified form of space, air, fire, water and earth. So when we are talking about how to improve the experience, what is the experience here? When a person says, when you meet a person, how's life? Life is very good, very happy. Another person says life is very dull, boring. Yet another person says, I'm in depression, I'm thinking of committing suicide. Why there is difference here? So that person who says life is brilliant, very active, dynamic, extremely happy, what does a person mean? We have already discussed life is nothing but series of experiences. If experiences are happy, life is happy. If experiences are fever and dull, life is dull. Same way here, if you start analyzing your experience and change, then life changes. So what is an experience? Experience here is, there is a subject and there is an object. Subject meeting an object brings forth an experience, one experience. And the relationship between subject and object. So who is the subject? Assuming I am the subject here, the individual, and the world is the object. So the relationship between the individual and the world is the experienced. So there are 3 components here. Experiencer, the individual, the experienced, the world, and experiencing, the relationship between these 2. So a person wants to eke out a better world, better amenities, better comforts. Want to go to outer space, quickly travel into outer space from place A to place B, conquering time. Scientists have spent enormous amount of time in order to eke out a better world. So you see here, 3 sets of people are continuously working on the outer world. Economists, improving their wealth. What was the wealth 200 years back or 500 years back? And what is the wealth today? I really do not know whether the wealth is multiplied or it has come down. People say India was the richest country and today it is the opposite. We are begging at the hands of World Bank. United States of America, the richest country. Scientists, economists and politicians are continuously working on improving the world. There is no focus on the individual. So standard of living has been improved, whereas standard of life has not been improved. When a person possesses only worldly knowledge, that person no doubt has focused so much on the world, but that individual goes through stress and strain, depression, stress, so much of worry and anxiety, stress factor. There is a lopsided personality. So when a person starts looking into the individual, gaining knowledge of what life and living is, The whole world is taking a turn towards gaining yoga and want to learn what life and living is. When a person gains knowledge of life and living, the person's life becomes complete, a whole person. And that is what that word is, paripurna, a complete person. So I just want to touch upon the point here, what is this Sanatana Dharma? That is, Vedanta is known as Sanatana Dharma. Sanatana means eternal, Dharma means principle. So what is this eternal principle? How this word, Hindu was originated. So when people living on a river bank, the river called Sindh, which is called Sindh now, a civilization was formed. So the people living on the eastern side of that river, they were called Sindhus. Over a period of time, because of evolution or modification in the word, that S became H, and that's how the word called Hindu originated. And what is it they worshipped? So that people living in a particular geographical place with certain traditional values, culture, is what is termed here as principles. And those principles are everlasting, which have been there since time immemorial. And that is what is eternal here. So, if you see the slide number 10, the origin of the word Hindu and what is their religion, people living on the eastern side of the river Sindh were known as Sindhus. And course of time that S became H resulted in Hindus. And they practiced the eternal principles. What are these eternal principles? Those days people were worshipping nature, sun, moon, thunder, lightning, etc. Even before that, the point what I am trying to convey here is that we have already discussed that portion called the eternal principle called tat tvam asi. The tat tvam asi appears in the Chandogya Upanishad in the Samaveda, which means that thou art. You are that. You are that reality. So people had that idea, that knowledge, that every individual has that life principle enlivened by the Panchakoshas. The focus was on that life principle. And this is what the truth is. Over a period of time, people found it very difficult to maintain the thought on the truth, on the reality, and they start thinking about the external world. A time had come where people have completely lost that eternal truth. And this is what Emerson puts it: every man is God playing the fool. So if you see here on slide number 12, eternal means everlasting, which is the same, which was the same yesterday, which is the same today, and will be the same tomorrow. And these principles are not dependent on any individuals. Science is nothing but a digest of information, experiments done by very many individuals in the past. Same way here, that the principles which people practice then, you do not know the name of the author, name of the Upanishads. There are around 256 Upanishads. 108 are known to us. Out of those 108, 11 have been commented by Jayashankar. And that's what the principal Upanishads are. We don't know the author's name. And we sit and study them. The Prasthanatraya. Today we say that if you take away these Upanishads, they don't know what the master, who the author's name is. Will that will the knowledge stand by itself or not? That is a question to be asked here. Dharma means the conscious awareness of eternal truth in and through all activities of life. So what is the Sanatana Dharma here is that a person who has been practicing certain principles which doesn't change according to time, and that is what is the Sanatana Dharma is. And what is religion? Religion is derived from two Latin terms, re and ligare. Re means back again, ligare means to bind, to unite. And that is what that English word yoga is. What is yoga is in Sanskrit, religion is in English. In fact, there is a mistake there. Yoga in English. So that is a mistake. So that which binds one back to the origin is religion in English and yoga in Sanskrit. Religion is that which helps us to get back to the origin. What is the origin? We have separated from the self. Ways and means to get back to the self is being religious. And that is what our original nature is, original purpose is, the primary purpose is. Friends, if we do not take all this, the facts of life as it is, on just face value, just because it is being said by a great master, think originally. That which make sense to us, take that in. If you are not able to follow it, shelve them as of now. At a later date, again pick up those values, again start thinking. Do that manana, reflection, repeated reconsideration of thoughts and ideas. Make it as part and parcel of one's life, and that brings about the transformation. And we said we will learn what that mind is and what intellect is. So mind is nothing but seat of emotions, likes, dislikes, feelings, desires, worry, anxiety. The mind wants to acquire something. The mind wants to covet something. Intellect is that faculty which reason. From where did I pick up this like and dislike? From where did I pick up this selfish thought? If we are all the time questioning on our existing likes, dislikes, feelings, emotions, then we are putting that intellect into use. This is different from intelligence. We are sitting in a class here. Many information is being provided on Vedanta. If we are only going to pick up these thoughts and parrot them, mimic them, we will have only erudition and scholarship, but we will not become that knowledge what is being talked about here. This is the difference between reading and studying. So a person asked, I have studied the Bhagavad Gita 18 chapters. I have not changed. The master immediately turned back and said, you have gone through the Bhagavad Gita. Has the Bhagavad Gita gone through you? Only when Bhagavad Gita goes through you, there will be transformation. When we have gone through the Bhagavad Gita, we will be having information about it. So if we are able to think, question, and never accept anything on hearsay, then our intellect will develop. And that is the need of the hour. We will continue next class. Hari Om.